Ice.
The Supreme Court says not so fast to a massive settlement over opioids.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Angie, dedicated to helping homeowners find skilled pros to get home projects done well. Reviews, pricing, and booking at Angie.com or on the Angie app. And by Grammarly, offering Grammarly Business to help companies large and small communicate better and move faster with enterprise-grade generative artificial intelligence. Learn more at Grammarly.com/business.
From Marketplace, I'm Sabri Benishore in for David Brancaccio. The Supreme Court has temporarily blocked a settlement with Purdue Pharma that would protect the Sackler family, which owns Purdue, from being sued in civil court over opioid damages. Marketplace's Samantha Fields has more. Hi, Sam. So just to start, remind us about the settlement.
Yeah, so Sabri, Purdue Pharma, the maker of OxyContin, filed for bankruptcy in 2019 after being sued by thousands of people for its role in the opioid crisis. It reached a deal last year that would allow it to restructure and emerge from bankruptcy effectively as a new company that would use its profits to fight the opioid epidemic. As part of the deal, members of the Sackler family, which owned Purdue, would put $6 billion into a fund for people who've been hurt by the opioid crisis and for state and local governments that are dealing with it. But they would also be protected from all future lawsuits by, for example, family members of people who've died of opioid overdoses.
So why did the Supreme Court block this deal?
The Justice Department had objected to the settlement, particularly the part that would shield the Sacklers from future liability. The Supreme Court has now agreed to hear arguments later this year over whether the deal can move forward. The central question is whether U.S. bankruptcy code allows people who are not personally in dire financial straits and are not themselves filing for bankruptcy to be shielded from liability in a corporate bankruptcy settlement like this. The outcome could have wide-ranging implications for other similar cases.
All right, Marketplace, Samantha Fields, thank you so much.
Thanks.
On now to the second largest economy in the world. One reason China's growth has been slower than expected since it ended its zero COVID policy is its property sector. A lot of people got caught up in what amounted to a kind of housing bubble. Similarly to the U.S. at one point, a lot of people just assumed home prices would keep going up. They took out mortgages to buy property, and more housing got built than was needed. So then demand fell and prices fell. And that left a lot of builders struggling. That is the context for this next bit of news. One of China's biggest property developers has warned it's facing losses of almost $8 billion for the first half of the year. Country Garden, as it's known, missed key bond repayments this week. The BBC's Nick Marsh reports.
Country Garden is one of a long list of floundering property developers in China. The most famous is Evergrande, which defaulted on over $300 billion of debt in 2021. Real estate accounts for almost a quarter of China's economic activity, but for a couple of years, developers haven't been able to access the cash they need to service their debts. And with millions of Chinese people's money tied up in unfinished properties, it's another headache for an economy still struggling to recover from the pandemic.
The BBC's Nick Marsh there. All right, let's do the numbers. The FTSE in London is down 1.1%. Dow futures are up less than 0.1%, just 24 points. S&P futures are about flat. NASDAQ futures are down 0.2%. And the yield on the 10-year Treasury is 4.097%.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Amazon Business. From small business to big enterprise and everything in between, Amazon Business helps simplify the supplies buying process. Amazon Business, your partner for smart business buying. And by C3 AI. C3 Generative AI provides ChatGPT enterprise search that is verifiable, secure, and accurate across all enterprise data. C3.ai. This is enterprise AI. And by the new Glassdoor app. Professionals can now join real anonymous conversations within their company, industry, and communities and get answers about careers on Glassdoor.
2023 is shaping up to be the hottest year on record, and temperature affects travel. The tourism industry is starting to see shifts in where people are booking trips and what seasons they decide to leave home. Ali Budner has more.
Weather has always had a pretty strong influence on people's decisions about where to travel, but climate change is ramping that up.
Concerns about heat waves, wildfires, hurricanes, things like that are showing up more and more in our conversations with travelers.
David Bratton runs Destination Analysts, a market research company focused on travel and tourism.
And these will ultimately, affect the destinations they go to, the timing of their trip, and even what they do when they're there.
Bratton says we're still on the early edge of this trend, but it could deter people from going to some places and lure them to others. Brooke Hansen is with the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management at the University of South Florida.
I recently saw some tourism promotion for Maine, and they were saying, hey, come here. We're not as hot as the rest of you. So we're going to see that shift in marketing happening as well.
Because of rising global temperatures, Hansen says, there may be growing interest in the more temperate shoulder seasons, fall and spring. Hansen says her own state of Florida could see a net loss in tourism year-round, since most of its top destinations are coastal.
We're already a hot state, and we're heating up even more, and we are very vulnerable to sea level rise.
But she says there's this small counterbalancing phenomenon at play.
People also want to go see places that are extremely affected by climate change before they're gone.
It's called last chance tourism, seeing the beaches and the glaciers, the forests, the animals, and even the cities that might change or disappear. Some people are also drawn to experience the extreme conditions of climate change for themselves, like the Death Valley visitors who posed for selfies this summer with digital readouts at above 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Melissa Kiela is with Bindlestiff Tours, an adventure travel company that operates mostly in the western United States.
People still want to go to Death Valley. We have tons of bookings because they want to almost experience that extremity.
Kiela did say they had to cancel 2 recent tours to Death Valley when temperatures hit above 125. She also says they've seen more interest in their Alaska tours and more trips than usual booked for the cooler months this year. I'm Ali Budner for Marketplace.
In New York, I'm Sabri Benishore with the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.